Welcome to the By Faith podcast, where we walk by faith and not by sight. My name is Kyia, and guys, am I just so excited for this episode? You guys have no idea. I've been dying to film with not only my small group leader, but I call her a mentor, an older sister figure, an amazing worship leader, but also friend. Mattie, I am very excited that you're on the podcast today. I love you so much. You have no idea. And we're just going to talk about your testimony, all that God's done in your life, all that he's doing. I want to talk about, your dreams. You and I are dreamers. We share that in common. But also, I just admire you and your strength. I think that you are one of the coolest people around, and I just want everyone to hear your story. So, are we ready?
Yeah, I'm so ready. I'm just honored to be here. I'm just excited to be watching you do what you're so called to do and showing up and doing this podcast. Literally, I've just been excited. I've just been gushing. I'm not going to cry, but I love you. And I'm just excited to sit in front of you and be a part of what the Lord's doing in your life.
Well, I wanted to share a backstory about Mattie and I. So I've never been in a small group before. My family they weren't Christian. And so I was never allowed to be in a small group. So when I went to church, small group signups were open. I was like, I want to be plugged in. I'm going to go to small group. And I don't know why, but I clicked on yours and I was like, she's cute. Okay, I'm going to go. And I was so nervous to go because I went all by myself. I didn't know a single person. On the signups, it said over 100 people or something was there. So I was like, oh, it's going to be a massive, huge thing. We're chill. I'll sit in the back. We're good. Well, I go and it's at your apartment and I'm listening. I'm I don't hear many voices. And I'm literally, I go up to the door and I'm like, I'm not going to do it. And I go to knock. I'm not going to knock. And then finally I'm pacing back. You probably see this on your ring and you're this girl's nuts. But I literally am pacing back and forth outside of your apartment. And I'm okay. And I told myself 20 seconds of courage. And I knock. And then you're hi, well, come in. And I was oh my gosh, you're a stranger and you're letting me in I'm your stranger and you're letting me in your house. So anyway, all that to say, I went and it ended up being this amazing, powerful night. I've again, never been in a small group. I didn't know what to expect. You've completely helped my faith journey in more ways than one. And I just cherish and love you so much. So,
oh my gosh, I love that.
I'm grateful.
Small groups can be hard to walk into.
Yes.
But that's been my greatest joy through the years of, especially being at Oceans Church, is just getting to open up our living room for so many girls for the last 4 years. And it's been literally my greatest honor and my favorite thing in the entire world. And I get to meet people like you. And so it's just been...
Well, it was perfect because it was we just talk, we hang, we pray, we watch a video, and we pray some, it was... there were moments in small group praying over people. It was just, I can't even tell you. I just love you. And all that being said, I want you to share, I don't know how long or short you want to make it. Whatever comes out of your mouth is perfect. But share a little bit of your testimony. How much God has brought you through. Did you grow up in a Christian household? Did you not? Where does the faith come from?
Yeah. I'll try to make it shorter than longer because I'll be turning 34 in a month and a half. Oh my goodness. But it has been a crazy journey with the Lord my entire life. I grew up in a Christian household. My parents were pastors, and I grew up from a very, very young age, loving the Lord. I think I got saved at 4, filled with the Holy Spirit. I was all in. I was the fearless kid at church praying for adults. I love Jesus so much. And from the age of 5, I told my parents, I was all I want to do is tell people about Jesus and be a worship leader. That's all I want to do. All I want to do is worship the Lord. And I lived my life like that, went through the years. My parents ran a very small church, and so I was there with them. And we experienced revival when I was really young, so I saw some of the craziest miracles ever, healings. People would be under the presence of God for hours. Our church saw crazy revival, and so that was just normal to me as a kid. Wow. And then growing up. And so 18 hit, I graduated high school, and I was I'm going to Bible school. It's time to go do all the things. And there had been so many words over my life before I was even born. Like when my mom was pregnant with me, people would pray and have these crazy prophetic words of the songs I would write and the music that I would be a part of and what was on my voice. And there's global awakening in you, and you're going to see the nations, and you're going to share the gospel to people all over the world, and your songs are going to be heard all over the world. And so I just was like, yeah, okay, cool, let's do it. Like, wow. So I went to Bible school in Texas. I packed up my little car at 18 and went out to Texas and went to Bible school. Again, when we were there, saw crazy revival. Like, I remember my first year there, an evangelist came and spoke. Oh, we had so many evangelists and different teachers and big people in the faith, like Heidi Baker, come and speak and pray over us. And I mean, I remember one night a kid that literally didn't have retinas in his eyes. He had been blind since birth, fully regain his sight and like fully watch his eyes literally come back to life and him have like retinas. So I'm on fire at 18, 19 years old and had an encounter with the Lord where I felt like he told me to go to the prayer room that night because we had a 24-hour prayer room at school, and I'm sitting in the back. It's just me and one other lady at the front. And all of a sudden, it's like I wasn't in that room anymore, and I was watching this huge picture video and like movie in front of me, and the Lord was narrating it to me, and he was like, I'm going to take you to a land one day that has seen great revival, but the land has gotten really hard, and like the wells of deep prayer and revival have been covered up. And he was like, I'm going to take you there, and I'm going to have you be a part of a group of people that are all from outside of there to like dig up those wells, and then you're going to see one of the greatest Jesus movements the world's ever seen. And he's like, your voice is going to be a part of it. You're going to write songs. He's like, the Lord's going to shake. I'm going to shake like what the church knows worship and prayer is in this culture now. Like, it's going to all get shaken, and it's going to be back to what it should be. And so I like left that room, and I was like, all right, let's see it. You know, when you get a prophetic word, or like if you hear the Lord and you're like, oh yeah, let's do this now. Like, I'm ready. And the crazy thing is a couple of weeks after that, I was in a really, really bad car accident with some friends. We got hit head on a side road in Texas. So we were probably going like 40 to 50 miles an hour. And this is while I was at Bible college. Yeah, I was in Texas by myself. I had left my cell phone home that night for the first time ever. I had such a sickening feeling, but I went anyways. And this guy in a pizza delivery truck on a cell phone ran a red light and hit us head on. And literally our cars collided, went up in the air, came back down, and I was in the back middle seat. And I'll never forget the sound of it. I'll never forget the moment of I looked over and my roommate was there, and she was pretty much like not fully conscious because she hit her head so hard. And I pulled her out of the car, we got rushed to the hospital. Anyways, I broke my arm, and so they were more focused on that and never took full x-rays. And so finished out Bible school, kind of like experienced some deep hurt and disappointment there just through some leadership and some things that happened. So I went home and just felt like so just defeated. I was like, Lord, like, I thought you called me to do all this. Like, I thought you called me to lead worship. Kind of in all of this, I never made the worship team. I was told by so many people at that school, like, your voice isn't that great. You know, you're not probably ever going to be like a worship leader, so you should probably like try to figure out other things that the Lord wants you to do. And so I like never made the worship team. We kind of got thrown in the prayer room. And but that was like one of the sweetest times for me, leading worship in the prayer room with a group of friends. And it's really like where things were cultivated for me. And it's so funny that I got rejected from the stage, but we got put in the prayer room, which is really where you should start anyways. Right. But like it was just kind of a backwards situation. But anyways, I went back to North Carolina after all this happened, and I started having major pain, and I knew things were really off, but I just didn't tell my parents because I was really scared, and like we didn't have the money at the time to go see doctors. And then I think I was like 21, my body completely shut down. I feel like I had gone paralyzed. My back like literally went out so bad that I couldn't move my arms, couldn't move my legs. I was on bed rest for 10 months. All I would do is get up, go to the chiropractor, come back home, go get adjustments done, get treatment, and then I'd go home and lay in my room in the dark. And I would weep every day because I'm like, Lord, is this over? Like, I'm only 21 years old and I feel like I'm dying. I feel like you've taken everything from me. Like, I thought you called me to this. I thought you gave me these crazy words. Like, and I told him, I was like, Lord, you're going to have to meet me right here in my bedroom. Like, I have nothing left. I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know where to go. I physically can't really do anything right now. And I had a dream that night, and I was singing with a band in my dream. We were in sound check, getting ready to start the night, and I started just prophetically singing, and the band came behind me, and we just started singing and flowing in the Spirit. And in my dream, I started singing this chorus out over and over again, and all of a sudden the doors opened up. These young people ran in, filled the whole entire room. It was like all young people. And then all of a sudden there was like this big cloud in the room, and it started turning into waves, and as it crashed over the kids, they would just fall on their face. And we're singing this chorus over and over again. And then all of a sudden at one time they all stood up and ran out the doors, and I woke up from that dream and I was like, whoa, that was not normal. Like, that wasn't a normal dream. But I kind of forgot about it, kind of went on with my life. Like, I was working part-time at a church as an intern at that point, just trying to do anything to be in ministry. Yeah. And a friend of mine one night, she was like, I feel like the Lord told me to send this to you. It just came out today. It's an EP. And this song, like, the Lord told me to send it to you and you're supposed to listen to it. So I was like, okay. I put it on that night in my room, and the bridge of that song hit. And the bridge of that song was what I had sang in my dream prophetically months earlier.
What?
And so I'm like full encounter with the Lord in my bedroom, just like, what is happening? Like, so I pulled myself off the floor and I'm like, who is this? What is this? Whatever this is where I'm going next. Like, this is who I need to be a part of. And it was Lindy and Chloe Mack from Circuit Riders. They hadn't released their CD yet, but they had like released 2 songs before. And so I looked them up. I didn't even have money in my account to apply for the school, like, because they have like a little summer program. So I didn't know it was in California. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew this is very evidently where the Lord wants me. So my sister paid for the application. I put it in, got accepted. I was in California 2 months later.
Oh,
and yeah, 2 months after that, a couple weeks after I came back from that school in the summer, I packed up my bags in my car, and my sister and I drove all the way to California from North Carolina. I didn't have gas money even to get across the state or the country. And like, so it was just like one of those things, though. I knew there was no hesitation in me that is where the Lord wanted me. And so like, my parents, my family, our church came around me, prayed for me, sent me on my way. And I was just like, we're doing this. Like, we're doing this thing and it's happening. So that was 9 years ago that happened. Literally 9 years ago last month. Yeah. And so that just started the journey of me being here. And the Lord told me, he was like, the vision you had, when you were 19 is what I'm putting you here for. Yeah. And the crazy thing is I had no idea what the next 9 years would look like here, because I was like, oh, I'm here, so let's start the thing, let's start writing the music, let's be a part of the things, we're going to see stadium gatherings, we're going to see all these things. And then my stuff with my back got worse. I got pneumonia my first year here so badly that all of a sudden my body shut down again, but I couldn't function. Like, I couldn't eat, I couldn't speak in complete sentences, like I didn't leave my house. But I was so determined to stay here. And so I've stayed here for 9 years. So determined that I'm like, I will see the promises of the Lord. But it has come at such a crazy cost. Right. Of I have lost everything I thought I knew, everything I thought, like, even in ministry I was going to do. It's been a very humbling 9 years of watching time and time again, like having to wait and having to watch other people step into what I feel like I'm supposed to be in and be a part of and do the thing. And I'm like, it's funny doing this podcast, because like right before you asked me to do it this week, Lord was like, it's time to start speaking before you see the promise. And the Lord told me to start writing a book 3 years ago, to start writing about my healing and my testimony before I see it. And I'm still waiting on it. Like we're 15 years in of walking through chronic illness and like major chronic pain. But the Lord told me to start speaking on it, start sharing, because like the stories that the Lord has done through all of this are wild, and it's just crazy to see.
I mean, it's so evident and clear that you have a gift, not only in the waiting and your persistence, but in your obedience. And when you see something, you're like, I know it's the Lord, I'm going, no questions asked. Like, the Lord's sending me, I'm gone, I'm there. And it's really evident and clear. And even the first time that we met, I remember, like, I mean, Mattie, you are just full of God stories and just God moments. I can't even tell you, because the day before I went to small group, I had a soccer game, or I was at soccer or something. And I remember laying down on the field, looking up to the sky and being like, wow, God, you are so good. I'm like, I'm in awe of you. I literally in my head, I'm like, wow, God, like I'm in awe. Like look at all these stars. It was beautiful. That first time I ever been to small group, you pray over me and you're like, you just have this awe of the Lord. I'm like, Mattie, what? Like, how do you know that? Like, I don't get it. Like, it was the most nuts thing. And I'm sitting here, you're praying over me. And in my head, I'm going, what? Yeah, no, yeah, yeah, what you're, yeah. And I'm freaking out. I mean, you just have such a gift. And honestly, too, like, I got the beautiful opportunity to meet your dad, and we filmed something with your dad. And it's just so evident and clear, like, he's so on fire for the Lord, your mom's so on fire, and like, you just have such a special gift. I want you to talk to the person right now who is in a waiting season. What is like the best piece of advice? I don't know if that's the right word, but what is something that you would tell that person who's like, I've been waiting to see this through? What would you tell that person?
Yeah. I cry every time I talk about it, because no one ever fully knows what it's like, especially with chronic illness and stuff like that. Like, it was so lonely so quickly, and I'm such a people person. Like, when I was really, really sick, my sister came and moved here as well, and like, she was pretty much taking care of me because I couldn't even cook for myself, and I would just have her drive me to like the circuit rider gatherings, and like, just so I could sit in the back and be around people. And so the thing about waiting, oh gosh, especially in Christian culture and church, and like, if you've grown up in that, we all hear about like, oh, it's called this, and you see the people from the stage, and now we have social media where we see the highlight reels of everybody's amazing stories of their life, but we never know what's behind it. Like, we don't truly ever know what that person has gone through. And that was something that I struggled with, was that so many people just kind of were like, because I didn't look very sick the whole time, and people were like, what is wrong with you? Like, what's happening? And so I lost so many people, and it was so isolating. And I kind of had to like learn, and it took me a while, because I did not do this perfectly at all. I'm not going to try to claim that I did this so well and was so holy through it, and like loved the Lord through it the whole time and thanked him every time like something happened. But I had to shift my focus off of going after the promises and the words and what I felt called to, and even like as a Christian, what I felt like I was supposed to do in my life, and just truly, with everything I had and in everything I did, focus on the heart of Jesus. Wow. Like, it was never, because at the end of the day, like, I am here on this earth to glorify the Lord. And so a lot of times we see those things and we hear these words and we want these things up here, but we don't know how to go through the process of getting there. And now, like, especially in our lives now, like, we want everything and we want it right now.
Totally.
And waiting sounds torturous. And I've waited, and there's like multiple things. I called my mom one day a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I just need you to pray with me. This whole waiting thing is so hard. She's like, okay, what part of the waiting are we waiting for? Because like, and she wasn't saying it in a bad way, but like, we both kind of laughed, because it's like, I've just been waiting for healing, physical healing in my body for, like I said, 15 years now. I'm 33 and still never had a boyfriend. I've been so single. I'm still never really walked into what I feel called to in worship. Like, I feel like I've just seen glimpses of it, but all those hundreds of songs that people have prophesied over me, we've got one so far, and it wasn't. So I'm just like, wow, Lord, like, it's been a crazy waiting for a lot of different things for a long time. But for those that are in the waiting, it's learning how to fully surrender those promises and those things that we want. And the Lord knows their desires of our heart. Oh, he knows. And he's right there with us, weeping with us, like praying, and he's interceding over us. But there has to be like a surrender of none of this is mine. Like, you died on the cross for me. And if I just get to walk this life and love people well, like you loved people, then okay, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it the best of my ability. But I say too, like, having vision for yourself and keeping that in front of you always, like speaking life over your situation, speaking life, and having community that holds your arms up when you don't have that. And that's been such a big thing too, especially when we walked into Oceans 5 years ago. I was kind of at my end. I had been out here for like 4 years, and I had been around some amazing people and amazing ministries, but I was at a point where I was so depleted. I just needed community. And that is exactly what Oceans became. Like, immediately, we had people inviting us into homes, having us over for dinners, because we were across the country from our family. But I even was asking the Lord about this, like the waiting again, because I have just gotten so familiar with it because it's been so many years of my story. And literally 2 weeks ago, the Lord was like, I needed you to learn to be an armor bearer before you could be in the position I wanted to place you in. I was like, an armor bearer? And my first thought is, I don't know if you've ever seen Jumanji, but Kevin Hart plays this character where he holds the backpack with all the tools in it. And he's kind of like, because that's what an armor bearer is. An armor bearer is like the person that comes beside the main leader or the main warrior. And it's not the most glamorous job. Like, you're holding all the equipment. You're in charge of sharpening those tools. You're in charge of guarding them at night. And so I started going in a deep dive of what an armor bearer was. And they're marked by, hold on, I want to pull it up because it's so good. This is kind of a summary of, they are called to protect the vision bigger than themselves. They're faithful, watchful, and spiritually alert. They served with weapons in one hand and work tools in the other, supporting their leader and one another's shared vision and mission. And it says, like, even in the Bible, when you look up what an armor bearer is, and then historically, it was like the most brave and loyal of the army. And so it was like a huge honor to be asked to be an armor bearer, but also it's a very humbling, like, it's not about you. It's you are literally there to protect and fight to the death for the person that you are placed under. And the Lord just started showing me, he was like, you've had to be a prayer warrior. You've had to be an armor bearer for people, even in your weakest moments. And like, honestly, like, and he just started reminding me of situations through the last 10 years of, like, even when I was with Circuit Riders and I was so sick, I couldn't go on tour anymore because they would tour around college campuses. But it was literally one of the biggest honors of my life that Lindy and the band stayed behind to, like, write her second album. And she just invited me to sit in the room with her. And I didn't really speak a word the whole time. I didn't put any input in. But I prayed for an entire week at her side. And the Lord was like, that is you being an armor bearer. He was like, yes, you feel like you haven't been in stadiums. Yes, you feel like you haven't written the songs yet. And you haven't, but you're going to. Like, those things are still promises over your life. But he was like, but you've already been there because you've been an armor bearer to people that are doing that and doing that now and are leading, like, movements that I'm breathing on. And it's just, he brought up another situation to my remembrance of, I remember I was super, super sick at this point, barely left bed for a couple weeks. And my roommate and I were sharing a room at the time, and she got a call at like 12 o'clock at night. And it was so weird that her phone was still on. We usually silenced our phones, but she answered it too. And it was a girl way in another state. We had met her on tour with Circuit Riders, and she called me and she was like, there is something majorly off in this house. Like, we feel like there's some demonic warfare happening. Can you guys pray with us? And so we were like, she just looked at me. She was like, you want to help me pray for this? I was like, sure, like, let's do it. So I just like rolled over in bed and we just started praying, and like the Lord just started showing us literally parts of their house and like things that needed to be broken off. And like we prayed for probably an hour, and then we just felt it lift, and we like released it. We blessed them, and we turned off the phone and went to bed. And the Lord was like, you never had to leave your room. You never even had to leave your bed for you to be doing what I've called you to do.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I would just say every time someone talks about the waiting, I'm just like, it's such a gift. And I would never change my story for anything, even in the hardest moments, because of what the Lord has cultivated in me and the relationship that we've built. And just the beauty of, I've had to fully lean. There's been times where there is no option. There is literally nothing but for me to lean on the Lord. Like when finances were out, when I physically couldn't lift myself out of the bed, when there was like a season of my life when I was so sick I lost my voice and I couldn't sing. Like, and that was, I just felt like I was dead. I was like, you've taken the thing that I love the most to do for you is to worship. And like, I can't sing. And it brought me to a place of like, God, you're good through it all. And the pressing and the crushing, like everything had to die. Everything of me and the way I thought things were going to happen in my timing and in my ability had to die for the Lord to fully like just have every single part of it.
I mean, I just could not love you more. I mean, I remember when Jake was even going through his whole cancer thing, first instinct, call Mattie. And I remember calling you and just crying and like telling you what's going on the phone. And you're like, okay, we're praying. Let's go. And it's just like, that's just who you are. Like, you are somebody so ready to like, I don't even know if selfless is the word, because you are selfless, but far beyond that and more. I can't even, there's no word to fully describe that.
Yeah.
But you're just so ready, available. You're like, you need something, I'm there. And that was so evident and clear about you from the very first time I met you. And I mean, I value you and your words and what you say, because I feel like, and I know that you have just so much wisdom, and that when like the words you speak, it's well thought out, it's intentional, it's communed with the Lord. It's not like, let me just give you some crazy advice that I just pulled out of my butt. It's like, no, like this is advice from the Lord, from my heart. I'm praying about it. I take it to the prayer room. I mean, I remember when I first started going to Oceans in small group, my faith was like, I mean, I thought I had a strong faith, but like compared to like everybody else around me in the room, I like was a baby beginner.
Yeah.
And you have fully like helped water and grow my own personal faith. And I mean, what you just shared about, like, you didn't even have to leave anywhere. It's like, I give you a call and it's like, it's better because of you. And so I just am grateful for you. Your story shares a lot about being in the church.
Yeah.
And will you tell me the importance of church in your life and the importance of being plugged into a church, getting in a local church, but also maybe your experiences with the good, bad, and the ugly of church, because you've been to North Carolina church and Texas churches and here. So
yeah.
Share a little bit about that.
I love the church so much, but I feel like I've experienced anything and everything you can experience in my 33 years. Like, I've been in every kind of church you can imagine. And also because of my parents and my dad, and like he would speak at different places and he'd always take me with him because I wanted to be everywhere. Like, I just wanted to be in it. Because I loved the church. I loved ministry. Because it's his bride, like, it's so important.
Right.
And especially nowadays, we've kind of like substituted it for other things. We're like, oh, we can just read our Bible and it's fine. We don't really need church. But I go back to it all the time, like community is everything, and having those people around you. Because like when you're going through you're okay, it's easier to just do it on your own. Totally. But like as soon as something hits, I mean, you guys kind of experienced it with, you did experience it with what you went through. But it's so important. And I've I mean, my parents were in full-time ministry, their parents were in ministry. So I heard the craziest stories, like because my parents were my dad was a part of one of the largest churches in Charlotte, North Carolina, back after the Jesus movement, and he worked for the pastors that are very well known for just the whole church imploding because of infidelity and taking money from the church and all these things. And it's a very well-known story. And it's like, I grew up hearing about that because my entire family was involved in it. Like, wow. My aunts and uncles worked at that church. My grandparents were elders there. My grandfather, his whole business was invested in this church, and they lost everything. He lost his retirement. He lost everything because of what happened at this church. And so I had always grown with a little bit of a hesitation I just knew humans are human, and church is always going to be flawed, and people are always going to hurt me, so I'm going to be guarded. Yeah. And so starting at 19, when I kind of went on my own and like pursued ministry on my own, I experienced the humanity of all of it and was so hurt. Like I said, when I moved back to North Carolina after being in Dallas at school, I had the people that I trusted most pull me into a room because of a few rumors that girls started because of jealousy. And to this day, I still don't know what was made up, but it was so bad that I got kicked out of the school. I got my scholarship taken away. I got asked to leave the ministry in 5 minutes. And I had nannied these people's kids for 3 years. I had served my guts out for 3 years. They knew everything and anything about me that they could know. And that was like my first time really experiencing church hurt in a way that it was me. I had watched my parents go through it, but I walked out of a room feeling fully destroyed. And that was like, it took me a long time to get over that. And it frustrates me at times because it happens in the church, and unfortunately, and it really affects people's walks with the Lord. And I'm like, so I hold that to such a high standard of like, what am I saying? What am I doing? And like I said, I am not perfect, and the Lord has really had to correct me on some things, and like my mouth gets me in trouble. Like what we speak, and we need to speak life more than death, and sometimes it gets us in trouble. But yeah, I've like through the years, I have just had to be like, Lord, it's never going to be perfect. And we talked about this too, because you were talking about like, okay, I'm struggling to tithe to this ministry that we were talking about because I don't fully trust what they're doing with the finances. Yes. And I was like, okay, well, you and me both. We've had that thought before. But I was like, the Lord really convicted me because he was like, are you being faithful to what I've said in the Bible? Right. And he was like, I want you to trust me. I want you to be faithful in your walk with the Lord. I will cover you. Yeah. And what they do with it is what they do with it. And they will have to stand in front of me and stand accountable to that. Right. But you're being obedient. You have to stand accountable for what you've walked in. Yeah. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. But got it. Not helping, like, oh, my snap. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. Hit them where it hurts. Yeah. But I mean, I just love you so much because we can have these honest conversations mm-hmm. and then talk about the not so pretty parts about the Christian walk. Mm-hmm. Like the hardships of church and dealing with imperfect people, trying to embody a perfect entity, mm-hmm. if you will. And then also the hardships of the seasons of preparation and the waiting and the pruning and the refining and the purification and all of the crazy, amazing, hard things of the Christian walk. Mm-hmm. But it's real. And I've always appreciated that I can go to you and talk about the honesty and the truth about it because you've dealt with it, you've experienced it, you know mm-hmm. what it's like. I mean, I can't even say it enough, but I truly do value what you say and your words to heart. Like like there's people where you don't ask for advice and you're like, yeah, no, I'm not asking for advice. I can't even take your advice. I feel like for you, whenever I ask, or even if you just tell me, hey, like this is on my heart, I am like, yes, I agree. I take your advice so to heart, and I truly do value every single word you say.
Wow. That means a lot. I appreciate it.
No, and I literally how long have we known each other? How long has it been? 2 years? A year?
Has it maybe like a year and a half? Yeah. It feels like it's been way longer than that, but I don't think it has been very long.
A year and
maybe.
A half? I feel like
maybe 2 years.
I think.
I don't know. The math's not.
The math isn't mathing. That's beyond me. Okay, so talk about worship and being a worship leader.
Oh, wow.
All of that goes into it. Because when I look, talk to the people who don't know what it's like to be a worship leader. Because when I go to church, I'm like, I'm ready for a concert. I'm ready to worship, and I have no idea what goes into it. I don't know how people pick the songs. Yeah. I don't know how, like you guys can sometimes hear each other. Like, tell me the ins and outs of worship so people can fully understand.
Yeah.
And also, will you talk a little bit about the importance of worship? Because when I know it drives me a little bit batty is when I see the people rolling into church right when worship music is ending. So talk about the importance of worship and why there's worship.
Yeah.
Hit them with it.
Wow. We could do a whole thing on because it is. Wow, the importance of worship. What is worship? What do we do during a worship set? Okay, this is the thing about worship. Worship is not just singing songs. Worship is not music, or not just music.
Yeah.
Worship is anything that's glorifying the Lord. And so your job, what you're called to do as you're walking it out is worship. The way you handle your relationships in marriage is worship. The way you raise your kids and pour into them, it's worship. Me on a photo shoot, just speaking life over someone that doesn't even know Jesus and has so many insecurities that I can see and feel like as we're taking photos, that is worship. And so we kind of have to get out of our heads of worship is when the worship band is on stage singing a song. Right. That's worship. It's not. Like, you are always worshiping the Lord. You are always a worshiper, and everyone's a worshiper.
I'm going to quote you this. Worship is whatever is glorifying God.
Yeah.
Mattie Anderson. I'm going to quote. That is so good. Like, that just
it
hit
is.
Me. No, that really hit me.
Yeah.
Because we're in like a perfect way.
Oh, thanks. I hope so.
No, you
all
did.
The worshipers out there.
No, you really did.
But like, for me, that is what worship is. Because I had to switch my mindset about that, because my mindset was, I have to work in a church to do ministry. I have to be a pastor. I have to be married. I have to be on stage leading for me to be actually walking that out. And that's not it at all. Like, I've actually been less on stage than anything else I've ever done in my life. I've sang less than anything else in my life. And I haven't been in full-time ministry. Like, I worked for a church one time. I've gotten paid by a church once. In my 16 years now of walking in ministry, I have only been paid by one church.
Wow.
And so, anyways, going back to worship, with worship, what you see on stage should be an overflow of what is happening in your secret place.
Wow.
Because out of the abundance, the heart speaks. And so we, as worshipers, who is everyone, but as worship leaders, we are leading the room in what we kind of feel like the Lord is doing. We are leading the Lord into exalting the Lord, because worship is the one part of the service at church that is for Jesus. Like, we are worshiping to Jesus. Right. And so it's not for us. And Pastor Mark said this before. He was like, when you get upset about a certain song that we're singing, or you're like, well, you didn't sing my favorite song. He's like, it's not for you. And it's true. It's really not for us at all. It's for us to glorify the Lord. And so I just knew from a young age, like, I never wanted to be, it was never my goal to be on a stage. It was never my goal to have an album or like all these things, even though it was like spoken over my life. And yes, like, I love worshiping more than anything in the world. But what I said earlier, when I got rejected from the worship team over and over again, we got put in the prayer room. And so honestly, I kind of resented the prayer room for a while because I grew up loving the prayer room style things, like, and that was like what I felt more comfortable in. I just loved flowing with the Lord. I loved like being able to sit for an hour and someone just playing keys and we would just worship, and like we'd have our Bibles open and whatever the Lord we felt was moving in the room, like we would just start singing it out. And that was like my favorite. But like when we were rejected from other things, it's funny because like we all ended up in the prayer room together. When I say we, like if anybody knows Upper Room and Upper Room music, the core team of that, that's who I'm talking about. That was us. We all got rejected from the worship team at our school. That was pretty well known. Like it's where Carrie Job sang. It's like multiple people, big name people in the worship movement went to school there, was a part of the worship movement there. And so we all got put in the prayer room. And so that's really where the Lord cultivated us as worshipers, was I want you to be more pursuing my heart, pursuing the feet of Jesus, worshiping me, praying, seeking the heart of the Father more than the stage. And it's so wild because, not to speak anything ill, but every single person that was on our stage leading worship every week at our school, I don't know where they are. And I like really hope that a lot of them are still serving in local church and stuff like that. But you look at the reject pile that was put in the prayer room are leading one of the biggest worship movements right now in the world. Like everyone sings their songs, but it's because they cultivated a heart of worship in the prayer room, and there was a partnership of prayer and worship. And that is something that there has to be unity in a band too. And I think it's so important. And the Lord's put it on my heart. And I know that I'll step into this more, but I really feel like part of my calling and my ministry is to create space for worshipers to come to unite together, because there's not like we're always up there. It's like we're giving and giving and giving, and we love it, but it's like there has to be a unity. And any big worship movement that I've been a part of, and I've been so privileged to be in rooms with so many amazing worship movements and worship leaders, that the one main like constant thing that I see from all of them is that the way that they pray together, the way they unify together, is spending time in prayer with no other agenda other than we're just going to seek Jesus. And from that overflow is where the music comes from, is what they write from, it's where they lead from. And so that's always kind of been my heart. And with our worship team now, that's like really the heart of, I would rather be in the prayer room leading than on stage on Sundays. And I even told our worship pastor that, because when I walked into Oceans 5 years ago is when my voice was still gone pretty much. And I met with our worship pastor, Mel, at the time. And she kind of knew my background, and we talked all about like where I'd come from and what I did. And I looked at her and I was like, I don't want to lead worship here. I was like, first of all, my voice is pretty much shot. I think the Lord I'm going to figure out a different way to serve the Lord, and it's going to be great, but I don't think it's worship anymore. And I don't want to be a part of your worship team. Like, it's just funny for me to think of. But yeah, my voice got totally healed one Sunday. Pastor Mark called out. He was like, someone's actually like lost your physical voice because of circumstances, but the Lord's healing your voice, but he's also awakening your voice again. And it's time to write and to speak and to preach and to sing again. And it felt like a lightning bolt hit my body. And I literally fell to the floor. And he started prophesying about like, you were put here for this movement that the Lord's going to awaken in California and all this stuff. And I'm just like, So Mel texted me the next day and was like, hey, you ready to lead worship now? You ready? And I was like, yeah, I think so. And I led a prayer set the next day for an hour. And my voice was the strongest it had been in years. And there was also a clarity of mind that I had not experienced in probably over a decade. But anyways, there's so many different things with worship that's just kind of how I want to live my life of like.
It's an overflow.
It's an overflow. And I remember when younger, immature me, when I was at Elevation Church for a while and led on the main stage with Pastor Stephen's main band. But there was so much insecurity in me. And it was like, the pressure of if I ever got to lead anything or sing anything, like almost killed me, because there was just like, I was like, I have to do well on this. I have to perform well on this. Like if I mess up, I'm going to get taken off, which there was like a really intense culture there at the time. And it was like, you got video footage and like you got notes on like how you did and all this stuff. And it just crushed me because I wasn't secure. And also I was just trying to perform more than I was actually worshiping.
Wow.
And so now I feel like a whole different person, because I'm like, what happens, happens. And if I don't lead one more song, but I'm just up there worshiping the Lord, amazing.
Yeah.
And I love it. And it's just my favorite thing in the whole world.
Be who you are.
Yeah. So that's like, yeah, worship is so amazing. And there's so many things around it.
Can you tell everybody the reason why? Because I've seen like, even I lead a little group of, they were 7th graders. Now they're sophomores in high school, which is nuts.
That's crazy.
But is that
yeah.
nuts? But some of them are like, I don't understand like why we have to like lift up our arms and worship.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means. And like, why do people lift up their arms and worship? And, you know, to the people that don't get it.
Yeah. Well, first, it's a sign of surrender.
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
And it's like a blessing to the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's funny, it is like when you try to explain it, sometimes it doesn't make sense.
Right.
But it is such a sign of surrender.
Right.
And when we lift up our hands, like we're surrendering it all to the Lord, which I'm like, I am probably so sweaty under here right now.
I know.
But yeah, just the act of worship, sometimes it gets so stiff, and people, because you go to some church services, I was at a church a couple weeks ago, and like there was not one person raising their hands. Yeah. And I'm looking around and I'm like, how can you not raise your hands? We are worshiping the creator of heaven and earth, the creator of us. And like,
right.
Oh my gosh, there's no life in here. Like, I don't know. I just like,
totally.
I'm so passionate about it. And it feels like I'm going to explode if I don't express myself in some way or another when there's worship happening.
Well, you know what I also saw? I saw this video of this lady. She was putting oil around her, like anointing oil around her door.
Yeah.
And she said, it's not the oil that's holy, but it's my act of faith.
Yes.
It's like the act of I'm being obedient to the Lord. I'm being faithful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes it's not necessarily that you're lifting your arms, but it's like you're outwardly showing like the Lord. I love you. I am like surrender. Nothing is in my heart or mind other than you right now. And this is a direct posture of you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's even when you hear the pastor, if there's ever like an altar call, it's not the altar is more holy.
Right.
It's the act and obedience of stepping out in faith.
And getting up in front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, yeah. If you talk to the practicals of worship, even as a worship leader on stage, I mean, you want to look like you're engaged. You want to look happy and engaging in worship, because you're leading a whole room.
Right.
And like you said, some people walk into church that have never experienced this before.
Right.
And sometimes I forget that because I have grown up in this my entire life. Yeah. And like I went to my first Catholic service last week.
Oh, wow.
I had never experienced it before. And I was looking around and I was like, oh my gosh, I understand now. Like if someone came from this and had never experienced worship at our church, I would be so confused and shocked at like what's happening.
Totally.
But also there is like another side to it where people, especially in worship culture and music, strive for such perfection and and like we have to do this, and there's almost like so much pressure to do it perfectly, which I do believe we should do things in excellence, and like we want worship music to express the Lord well, and
your best.
Yeah, you want to give the Lord your best, but at the end of the day, a lot of times we put pressure on like, oh, I don't know if this song is gonna like really hit, or I don't know if I don't know, we just put a lot of pressure on it.
Totally.
And the Lord kind of humbled me one time. He was like, you're giving yourself way too much credit. And he was like, at the end of the day, what I breathe on, and there's nothing more powerful than the power of the Lord.
Wow.
And so he's like, if you're coming with the right heart posture and you're honoring me and we're partnering in this together, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it doesn't also matter that, like, yes, we want people that have never experienced this more to be able to engage and, like, understand what's happening. But I don't think we have to, like, water it down.
Totally.
Because the power of the Lord ultimately can do anything. And he can encounter anyone at any place and time. And even in worship, like, we pray as a band, like, Lord, from the word go, let this be all you. And, like, we don't have it before even Pastor Mark or whoever's speaking gets up. Let there be healing that happens through this worship. Like, let there be people that come to know you through this worship, because have an encounter with you. And we have seen it. I mean, people have gotten healed and touched and delivered and all the things during worship.
Totally.
So
I know it drives me batty when people either, like, leave early and like at the end of the last song, or, like, I see everybody, like, coming in after, like, the last worship song. I'm like,
I see you. Oh no, I'm like, why would you want to miss it? It's like my favorite part. I mean, I love the word. It's so good.
Like 15 minutes early, because I'm like, Jake, first of all, like, I want to be able to see the stage, and second of all, like, I want to worship.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I even experienced deliverance at a worship concert, at a Brandon Lake concert. I remember me and my family were going through, like, the worst, like, season, and it was really hard. And that next day, we were all going to Japan to take a family trip. And my whole family, we haven't been together in years, you know, like, all of us under one roof. And it just got really tough between me and my parents. And all of a sudden, Brandon Lake's like, this tour is called Miracle Nights. If you're in need of a miracle, raise your hand. And at first I'm like, I'm with, like, my two close friends. I'm like, I'm not going to raise my hand. Like, that's no.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, the Lord's like, you know, you get the heart pounding. You're like, okay, I have to. So I go, and then he's like, keep your hands up. And I'm like, great. Now my hand's raised. And then he's like, if you see somebody next to you with your hand raised and your hand's not raised, go and pray over them. So some lady comes and she prays over me. And I guess my friends were saying while she was praying over me, all I could hear was her prayer. And this, like, lift, like, heaviness lifted off of me. And I guess Brandon Lake and his team was, like, prophesying, like, the spirit of broken families, like,
wow,
like, you must go, like, spirit of broken families, he kept saying that. And I didn't hear that, but, like, that's what I asked for prayer for, you know? And then after that, I looked at my friends and I'm like, guys, I am ready to go to Japan. I'm ready to go to Japan with my family. And I experienced, I mean, and ever since, it's been just a way better story. So we talked about waiting, we talked about church, and we talked about worship. I want you to talk a little bit about singleness and a little bit about that, because I know that you started this series, and it's so stuff that I actually read every single bit of it, and I love
it. So sweet.
So I want you to talk a little bit about singleness, and talk to the single person who is waiting, but also you know, waiting for the right person.
Yeah. I remember telling you I was doing this, and I was like, I feel so stupid doing this. I hate talking about singleness. I think there's just been so much talk about it lately, and then you look at TikTok and Instagram, and everyone's giving their opinion, and then you have all the Christians that are, like, trying to give their advice and their opinion on things, and I just try to stay away from it because I get so swirled out by it. And but it is something that the Lord's, like, put on my heart, and I started this series, Things I've Learned in My 33 Years of Singleness, and it's very vulnerable. It's very, like, I waited a year to do it because I didn't want to do it. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. But it kind of was like the Lord was telling me again, like, it's time for you to start speaking the things out while you're still in the process of seeing your promises come to be. And I had started writing a book like 3 years ago, and I put it down because I was just like, I am not a writer. This is not going to happen. But it all kind of ties in together because it's just talking about how the name of the book is redemption is a four-letter word, and that's love. And
love that.
It's literally the whole first chapter is on, I mean, I have not wanted anything else other than worship, but to be married and have kids. Like, I have, since I was like 5 years old, anytime we played house, anything like that, like I was always like, I'm a mom, I can't wait to be a wife. Like, love taking care of kids. Like, I've worked with kids my whole life. And growing up, even my friend group was like, Maddie's going to be the first one to get married. She's going to do ministry with her husband. She's going to have all the kids, and like, and then it'll happen for us sometime. But it didn't. It's like, it's been the opposite, and it's been really wild because, it's like now being 33, I'm so grateful that I did not get married at 21 when a lot of my friends did in Bible school. And I've gone through so many seasons of watching friend group after friend group after friend group. They all get married and move on, and then it's me. And like the weddings I stood at, like the engagement parties I've gone to, just even, I mean, literally today, I was like, oh my gosh, a kid I nannied when he was in elementary school just got married. And I can't believe it. Like, we're in that season of life. But singleness is so interesting because, especially in the church culture, it is so seen as you're not really complete until you're married. And it's not really said that way, but the way that things in the culture is, especially in ministry, makes that very evident. And again, like through the years, I've had to check my heart because I watch person after person that's way younger than me meet someone, get married, and then immediately, like, they're leading things together. They've been put in charge of things. And not that it's ever about, like, a position or a place, but I'm like, it's been really hard being single and watching that when all you want to do is serve the church and serve the Lord and be fully involved, and you have all this time on your hands, but you don't really feel utilized because you don't have that person. So I kind of had to walk through a lot of, I mean, like I said, I'm not perfect in any of this. And I've had to check my heart a lot. And still to this day, like, I still watch so many people, like, you know, everybody's story's different. And I love your story. And I think it's incredible. And what you have is so rare. But this whole series of like what I've learned in 33 years is just kind of highlighting where we've kind of set a culture that's not really feasible, right. And how people don't really understand or know how to but like I feel like people don't know how to handle us in our 30s, single, especially in the world we're in now. Because when I was walking through sickness, I mean, I was so sick most of my 20s. So I didn't date. Like, I couldn't go outside. I couldn't go out in public. I definitely couldn't have dinner anywhere because I could barely eat normal food. I lived off of bone broth for 2 years. Like, so your girl's not going on dates. I felt so broken. So I was like, who is going to want to date me? Like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Even putting on, like, I know what I'm called to, it's not normal. And I've known that since I was probably 7 years old. And people told me that. They're like, there's something very different about you, and it can't just be a normal guy. And so being sick and like having to go through that whole thought process of who is going to date me and take on all of this, I feel like such a burden. And for a while, I just was like, I don't want to have kids anymore. Because what I have, I can pass to my children. And I also don't want to be super sick in bed and my kids don't even have a mom. And that was devastating to me. I felt like I had to let all of my dreams die in that area too. And just walking through having to release that to the Lord, but also not believe the lies.
Yeah.
And not be so hard on myself. Even though I still haven't met anyone yet. And I've never had a boyfriend. I have never been on more than 2 dates with someone. Like, and you start to be like, what is wrong with me? I don't understand. I feel like I'm holding myself to such a high standard, especially in church. Like, I feel like I'm trying to do everything right that I've been told in church my whole life that the Bible says, with purity and all those things. And I'm meeting more and more people, and there's so many women now that are in this position. And even going to my parents, they're like, we don't fully know what to tell you. When we're telling them the stories of like our dating experiences and what's happening even in the church with people we're meeting, my parents are like, we're kind of at a loss. And like, all we know to do is pray.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've been. I'm like, all I know to do right now is to pray. Because one, I know that the Lord is a God of miracles. So he's going to work a miracle. Like, he's not surprised by the season of where the world's at.
Yeah.
But also, he's just had to like break off some thought patterns that I've had and some disappointments I've had in the church and things like that. And really, in the last couple of months, I have just had to kind of release all of it to the Lord. And I've gone through my season of journaling every day and praying for my future husband and going through the books. And I put myself out there. And I think that was the craziest like thing to me, was being sick in most of my 20s. And then I didn't really start trying to date until I was 28. And I was still dealing with a lot of sickness and stuff, but I was like, I'm 28. Like, we gotta start trying something. But I felt like I had stepped into the twilight zone, because then like COVID had hit, which changed things even more drastically, and it has been wild since then. But I literally felt like I went from one world to another, and I felt like a fish out of water. I didn't know how to handle it. And I think but I know a lot of people feel that way. And so I'm like, Lord, just again, we're leaning on you, and I'm still gonna pursue things, but at the end of the day, we're just praying for miracles to happen at this point. But singleness has been so amazing, and the friends that I have had through the years.
Your girlfriend group
they're amazing, aren't they?
Like, I want to buy a whole cow with my friends. I just want to cook with my friends.
We did buy a cow together. We did. Yeah. You know what's crazy is our friend group, Erica and I and Tara, we met in a clothing store one day.
That's crazy.
I was like working for a friend at this clothing store for like a couple of weeks, and they walked in and we started talking and exchanged numbers, and we went on a friend date, and we just celebrated our 8-year friend anniversary last week.
That's...
But it's crazy. Like, we ended up living in the same complex. If I can tell anyone in their 20s anything, just like a practical fun thing, is live in walking distance to your friends for a while. Like, we all lived in the same apartment complex. We did girl dinners like twice a week together. We would host bachelorette nights. We would never watch the show, but we would bring a million snacks. And we ended up having like 25 to 30 girls at some points in the living room. And we're just laughing and giggling and just catching up on life. And it's just been fun. We've been creating bucket lists now every season.
We're
going to Italy. We've gone to like, now we take girls trips together, which I know a lot of people do, but it's like we are trying to be very intentional. And like I said, when we create our bucket list, it's been so fun, because every couple of days we're like, all right, who wants to try to do something on their bucket list? And it's like silly little things that we haven't done since we were kids. But it has just brought so much joy, and it just like brings life to us. And like, it doesn't always have to be that serious. And like, your friends should like challenge you, but also like challenge you to be funny and be a kid again. And like, that's just what our friend group is. And we laugh, cry almost every time we're together. And like, it's just,
it's
great.
Like, this is full honesty. Your friend group is my life goal. Like, I want to have summer nights and have the projector and the snacks and
oh my gosh, yes,
the presentation nights. Like, two of their friends works at a hospital in labor and delivery.
Oh yeah,
like,
we were talking about
guess these met like devices, and they're watching the videos that it's used for. Like,
yeah,
all the crazy stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, truly, like, I love your girlfriend. I think I need to get on the next cow.
Absolutely. Yeah, we bought a cow together. We did. That one went viral on TikTok. That was funny.
I saw that. I was like, this is the best video ever.
I know. I didn't realize how big it had gotten until I like commented on another girl's video on TikTok. I don't know how to work TikTok. I'm so millennial in it, but I commented on a thing, and all of a sudden she commented back, was like, oh my God, you're the cow girl. Like, you're the girl that bought the cow with her friends. And I was like, yeah.
Is the meat actually really good?
Yeah, it's great. We've almost finished it.
Really?
It was, I love having a freezer full of meat.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Just FYI, that went off. So I don't know if that matters.
I think it'll still mean it.
Okay.
Should I hope. Gosh, I'm not a techie person, so I'm praying that this is good. Usually Jake's behind the scenes and he's like looking at everything. I told him I'm nervous, but he said you'll be fine.
We love Jake. Thanks for all your work, Jake.
Okay, to finish up.
Yeah.
What is on your heart that you want to share? Big question, dropped a bomb on you, I know. But to wrap up, any last thoughts? What's on your heart? Maybe what the Lord's teaching you.
Wow.
Maybe I want you to also speak out some of your dreams. I always like to do that at the end of my episodes.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Speak out like the dream that like the Lord's placed on your heart and the things you're working on because they're big, exciting. So I'm listening.
I think that's something that that's hit me through the years is everything that I bring to the Lord has to cost something. Like anything worth bringing to the Lord should cost something. And that's just been a heavy one for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we don't want the cost, but we want the thing, but it's like in the process of getting to what we think we want or like the word or the goal or that's like the most important part, and that's what makes us who we are, and that's what creates and cultivates our integrity, our faith, our grit, our tenacity. Like that really is where it all comes from, is that blind faith journey with the Lord. And so it's gonna cost something. So it's not really deep, it's nothing huge, but it's kind of just having that realization of it's gonna cost, and it's gonna hurt, and you're gonna lose a lot
to sacrifice.
Because a lot of people follow the Lord, but they don't surrender everything to the Lord.
Totally. I mean, I remember when I started this podcast 3 years ago, I'm like, this is gonna be my break. I'm starting it. Everybody's gonna love it, and it's game on. See you later, college, and everybody. Deuces. What happens my first year of posting? I lost like 2,000 followers of people like, she's posting about Jesus. And that discouraged me. I'm like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? But I'm like, wait, the Lord's like convicting me. He's like, it's never been about the numbers.
No.
It's never been about the numbers. So now I don't even check the numbers. And I'm literally on cloud 9 doing this whole thing. And I'm like, honestly, Lord, like if one person texts me at the end of the week, hey, just listen to your episode, it helped me so much. And I'm like, I feel fulfilled and I feel beautiful chef's kiss. And I wanted the thing, but I didn't want the cost of the thing. And now I'm like, honestly, Lord, like whatever it takes for you to do whatever you want with my life, I'm your thing.
And you've heard me say this so many times because we talk about it small group all the time, but I'm like, you never know what your simple obedience is doing and breaking open for other people.
Right.
And we forget that sometimes.
Totally.
And that's like what I always told you guys. Like, I want you guys to be asking the Lord every little detail every day. Like, get used to being in tune with the Holy Spirit every day. Because the breakthrough that brings for other people, you literally have no idea.
Right.
And like the silliest things of like asking the Lord, where are we going today?
Right.
You just never know what that's going to bring.
Totally.
Like super quick. One day my doctor's appointment got canceled. I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, okay, Lord, like it's you and me today. What are we going to do? And I was like, I'm going to go on a walk. And so I started driving to my favorite spot, and it was just like a knowing. I just knew the Lord was like, no, you're going to go to the opposite end of this trail. And so I drive all the way to the opposite end. And so I get out and I start heading towards the normal way I do. And he was like, no, you're going the other way today. And I was like, all right. So I just start walking down the other way, and it's like deserted trail. Like no one's out here. I'm out pretty deep in the trail. And all of a sudden I look over and I'm like, oh my gosh. And one of my friends was literally over on the side, like having a full-on anxiety attack. And I just grab her by the arms, and she just grabs onto me and like was just going through a really, really hard time. And I was like, I don't think you understand how detailed the Lord is, that he canceled my appointment, redirected my plans twice, and I'm here in the middle of nowhere, field, trail. And I walk up to you. Like, how intentional is the Lord? And we just sat together for hours that day. And I love her so much. And it's like, she's, oh my gosh, the amazing things that she's doing in her life. But it was, again, like, I'm just listening to the Holy Spirit, being obedient, and like got to be there for a friend of mine that no one would have ever known like that. And I can tell story after story, but I always say this, like, simple obedience. You just literally never know what you stepping out in faith is going to do. I told you the story of when the Lord told me to put on that bright yellow dress to church. And then they were praying for healing. And I was like, I'm not raising my hand again. I have been prayed for healing for a decade now. I am not going up. And the Lord was like, go up to the front. And I was in the very back of the tent. This is when our church met in tents. And I was like, no, you can heal me from back here. It's fine. He's like, go to the front of the tent. I walk all the way up to the front of the tent. I am wearing a neon yellow dress. Like, I can't emphasize more, bright yellow. I go to the front, kneel down. I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm here. I get prayer, go away. Nothing's happening. A couple months later, I'm at dinner with a family, and she shares with me that she has been praying and intercede. Like, she's been praying for this little thing that she's wanted healing from since she was like 13 years old. And she watched me walk to the front, knowing my story, knowing my testimony, knowing how many years I've been sick, knowing how many times people have prayed for me, how many times I've raised my hand, how many times we've gone forward. And she was like, I was telling the Lord, I don't want to go forward again. And she was like, and then all of a sudden you walked past me in your bright yellow dress. And I had the faith because you walked forward and got prayer, and she got healed that day. Wow. And so you literally never know what your obedience is doing for other people. You never know what this podcast is doing for other people. You never know what that kind word is going to do for someone at a coffee shop that you just feel the inkling of, like, I just need to tell this person that they're so loved today. Yeah. You literally never know. So that is like, I just can't share that enough of, like, when we shift our perspective of, like, off of what's happening in front of us, off of the things that are happening to us, and focus on the heart of the Lord and focus on the Lord, and we start praying for other people and start encouraging other people, that is going to get you out of a funk or get you out of that place of disappointment faster than anything else. Yeah. When we get our eyes off of the circumstances, get our eyes off of us and focus on the Lord. So, yeah. And in that, my dreams.
Yes. Tell me.
I feel like the Lord's resurrected a lot of things this year, especially because it's been year after year of just kind of feeling like punched down year after year with the things that I love the most. But like I said, I started writing a book 3 years ago, kind of about my journey, kind of about my testimony, and I restarted writing it again. So I'm hoping to finish that this year. That's like one of my biggest goals. But other than that, getting songs written and recorded this year too is like a huge one for me. But yeah, I've just been but I'm also like so surrendered. I'm like, there's just so much joy in things right now, and like getting to lead again at church and getting to be a part of things that the Lord's doing here in California has just been incredible. And I'm trying to dream again for my business, which I never thought I would be a business girly, but here we are. Like, been running my business for 5 years now, and the Lord's like really, I feel like he's blowing fresh wind on it this year. And yeah, it's just been really fun. My camera's taken me in rooms that I never thought I'd be in and work with people that I never thought I would work with. And that has just been so fun.
I mean, Mattie, you are such a talented photographer. Jake and I are obsessed with our save the date pictures, our engagement pictures.
I'm obsessed. It's on my refrigerator.
I mean, actually, like, we used it for all of our save the dates. It's like my favorite. Yeah. And I just literally love you.
I love you too. So much.
I mean, you are every good thing and more. And I know that you think, oh my gosh, your thought is, no, but Kyia, you don't understand. Like, I've done this and I'm flawed and I'm this, but like, no, like, hear me when I say it. Like, I look at you as somebody who is so devoted to the Lord, but also so obedient and who works on themselves every single day. And that is very few and far between. Like, not many people are like that. And I also think that's another reason why the Lord's being extra picky with your husband, because he needs to be all that in a bag of chips and more. Yeah. You are that. And no, for real. Thanks. Like, that's my heart.
Yeah.
But I mean, you are just insanely amazing of a human being. I can't even tell you. And the way that you communicate, like, your stories, I'm like sitting here and like I've heard a few of these, but like I'm in cap. Like, I'm like, what? My, like, not even lying. I was gonna say this earlier, but like my face on camera is like this, like half the episode. And I'm like in a daze because like the way that you communicate is like, I truly like,
got some stories, that's for sure. Not at a lack of those.
You are just so incredible and so amazing. And so I'm very much so looking forward to your book, and I will read any chapters you have written because I would love to. But also check her out in her photography business. I will tag her precious business page. No, but seriously, she is so beyond talented. And if you are looking for a good small group or church, check out Ocean's Church and Mattie's small group.
Yeah.
That meet Wednesdays.
It has. Well, we've taken a break for the summer, and I'm honestly figuring out what's next.
Okay.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout.
Yeah. We might be doing more like prayer and worship nights.
Ooh.
So we'll see.
Get out, for real?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah. I think things are shifting just a little bit.
I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, well, everybody, Mattie, I love you. I'm so grateful for your time and your yes and your obedience. And everybody, I hope that you have the most blessed, most best week in the whole wide world. Thank you guys so much for listening. Tune into the next episode. And while you're at it, leave a rating and review to boost the podcast algorithm to ensure that we grow organically. I love you guys so much. Have the best day ever.